Dr. Bob, and I'm here at Spirit Lake. I'm at the base of Mt Saint Helens. May 18th of 1980, you would not have recognized this area in the hours before the eruption of Mt Saint Helens. The surface of the lake back here would have been a few hundred feet lower than it is right now, and it would have been a beautiful lake covered with trees all over these hills. But as the beginnings of the eruption at Mt Saint Helens began, you had first a great mass of the mountains come sliding down the hill and into what was Spirit Lake. Spirit Lake, the waters from it then sloshed up onto the other side as high as 860 feet. And when they retreated back to the area of the lake, not only was the surface of the bed of the lake several hundred feet higher, but you had the surface of it covered with over 1 million trees that had previously been up on the side of this mountain. These trees then floated and formed a mat over the top of Spirit Lake. In fact, there were no cameras here at that time to record the event, but an Army helicopter flew over Spirit Lake shortly afterwards and said that they were concerned that it looked like the lake was gone, because all you could see were the trees. Within a few days, the trees began to settle and you could see water between them, and they realized that the lake was still here, but it was covered with a mat of over 1 million trees. Now, this is a combination of the variety of trees that exist on these mountains here in this area of Washington. And as these trees sat on the surface of the lake, they bounced into each other and jostled around, eventually cleaning themselves of all bark. The bark fell to the bottom of the lake. And now we have a deep layer of bark, which is beginning the process of coalification. So we actually will have coal here as a result of Mt Saint Helens at some point in the future. In addition to that, these logs, as they continued to float on the surface of Spirit Lake, the root ball masses began to then accumulate water and to become heavier than the rest of the tree, and the trees then rotated and settled down into this bed of tree bark that was at the bottom of the lake. They did so in a way that was peculiar for each of the different species of trees. So Douglas firs at a different rate than the other trees. And so what you have, and it's reminiscent of what we see in Yellowstone, what you have is what's called a specimen forest. When you have the forest of a certain type of tree, and then at another level from those trees, you would have a surface of another group of trees. Now, these trees, they appear to have planted themselves, so some group coming along afterwards might think that these were actually forests that were inundated at a variety of different times to become then petrified trees, like again we see in Yellowstone. However, these trees were all part of the same forest, growing at the same time, just with slightly different characteristics, all buried by a singular event with Mt Saint Helens. So we see here another indication of the truthfulness of God's Word, that when you look at coal, what you're seeing, as we've talked before, you're seeing not the result of peat bogs or forests, because you don't have root systems growing through them, but what you're seeing most often is bark from trees, just like you would here, with the occasional tree growing through that coal. And so we have a great representation of it here, indicating to us that God's Word can be trusted, and that everywhere you look, you see a testimony of Christ. He said that he would be visible in all things. And so even here, in this beautiful place with this lake covered with all these trees and this devastation that caused it, we see another testimony of the truthfulness of God's Word. So this is Dr. Bob again, and we'll see you next time.